Well, good morning to you all. I trust you're having a great Wednesday and that you're enjoying this beautiful day that the Lord has given us in Central Maine. It's funny how 40 degrees feels like 80 after a few weeks of 0 degrees. Thanks for joining me for 5 to 7 minutes. Hope and trust that you're doing well today and that you continue to grow in your relationship with the Lord and that you continue to live in His Word. And we are working through the life of Joseph. We are in Genesis chapter 49, which means today and tomorrow we will be finishing the life of Joseph. I trust that this has been a good study, a study to help you and remind you of this familiar story that many know, but hopefully a fresh look or a renewed look as we look at Joseph and all that he has been through, and as we apply the principles from his life as we go through difficult times. Well, Jacob is in Egypt, and yesterday he said goodbye and he blesses his grandsons. Well, today in Genesis chapter 49, he's going to see his sons, the 12 sons of Jacob. Or remember, Jacob's name got changed to Israel, and this is where we get the 12 sons or the 12 tribes of Israel. So Jacob is going to speak truth over them. He's going to leave a legacy with them and give a little bit of prophecy of what each of them is going to do and what they will accomplish. I'm not going to cover all tribes. I don't have the time in the 5 to 7 minutes. I do want to encourage you to go ahead and read Genesis 49. It's going to help you understand that Jacob is going to bless each one of them. And he's also going to be able to tell them what they're going to experience in the years to come. So I really want you to encourage you to go back and read that. I'm going to focus on two or three of them, all right? So as you go through, the first son is Reuben, and you would think that Reuben would be the one that would be to take over for Jacob. So if you get your Bible and if you go to Genesis chapter 49, he looks at Reuben and he says to Reuben, I didn't get there, sorry. He looks at Reuben and he says to him in Genesis 49 that you're my firstborn son. And everyone would think that Reuben would be the one to have the line go through him, but because of the mistakes that Reuben has made, the line is not going to be going through him. He's lost it. And others, his next two brothers, were disqualified because of the sins they had committed or the previous actions. Now he gets to Judah. Now Judah's heritage would produce David. We love King David. Everybody loves King David. King David is from the line of Judah, and then David produced Solomon, and then that line of David and Solomon that eventually produced Jesus. And Jesus is known as the Lion from the tribe of Judah. So you can track the whole way through the rest of the Old Testament and the New Testament, the whole way to the book of Revelation. Track that back to Genesis chapter 49 and the blessings and the prophecy that Jacob spoke to his son Judah, that the scepter will not depart from Judah. He will have the kingly line. And this reminds us that we are always thankful when people speak truth into our lives. And it was really interesting to go back and refresh my mind in Genesis chapter 49 and track that through the Bible. I want to take your attention and draw that to verse 18. Jacob stops the blessings and the prophecy, and he reminds his sons to follow in God's promises and be dependent upon the Lord. Let me step back for a few seconds. And Jacob is on and in his deathbed. These are the very last things that Jacob is going to say to his sons. And in my mind's eye, I see a bed, and then I see the 12 sons around the bed, and Jacob is looking at each one of them, blessing them, and then prophesying over them and saying, this is what's going to happen to you and to you and to you and to you. And then he stops, he says, hey guys, I want to remind you to follow in God's promises and to be dependent upon the Lord. Don't forget about the Lord. Don't forget about his promises. Jacob is somewhere around 175 years old, seen a lot of life, experienced a lot of life, had the ups and downs of life, and yet he stops and says, guys, don't forget to follow the Lord. Don't forget about his promises. It's a great challenge for you and me as we go through life. Sometimes we get caught up in the earthly perspective, and we need to step back and go, okay, what's my eternal perspective here? I need to be dependent upon the Lord. I need to follow and remind myself of God's promises. Now, the other one I want to focus on is Benjamin. Obviously, Joseph gets a huge blessing, and I'd encourage you to read that because Joseph is Jacob's favorite. But Jacob also blesses Benjamin, and Benjamin has a legacy that would produce King Saul. Now, King Saul, he started well, but then he ended roughly because he walked away from the Lord. But then I'd also invite you to look at the Apostle Paul in the New Testament. He was Saul and then became Paul. You know who he came from? He came from the tribe of Benjamin. Interesting that Saul started rough and then he ended very well by being one of the greatest evangelists for the Lord in the Bible. Now, as Jacob has blessed all of his sons, starting from Reuben and ending in Benjamin, going in birth order, he then turns and he says, hey, listen, this is what needs to happen when I pass away. Don't bury me in Egypt. Take me back to the promised land. Take me and put me in Canaan and bury me where Abraham and Sarah and Leah are. I want to be buried there. Do not leave me here. That has been a promise that we've seen in chapters 46 and 47, reiterated in 48, and now said in 49. And spoiler alert, he's going to be buried and taken out whenever the tribe leaves Egypt in Exodus. So what do we have for application? What difference does this passage make? What can be driven? What action can I take? Well, as I reflect upon these 12 boys, Jacob left quite a legacy. One of great honor. Jacob was a great man of God, but he was not a perfect man of God. He had made a lot of poor decisions, and yet God continued to bless him in spite of those poor decisions. We can see the grace of God through his life. I wonder, what legacy are you leaving? I've asked myself, what legacy am I leaving? What would I say as a final word to my children? What would you say as a final word to your children? You're reading the last words of Jacob. If you read in Genesis 49, it says, after Jacob said this, he closed his eyes and went to be with his ancestors. He passed away. What do you want to say to your children? What do you want your children to say about you when you're gone? What do you want them to remember about you? And then how are you going about building that legacy that you want your children to remember you by? Today is a great day to start, to renew, or to refresh. As we read Genesis 49, a great legacy of Jacob speaking love and truth to his boys. Let's not miss this opportunity for us to speak love and truth to our children. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us the frailty of life, and we need to say the things that we need to say while we have time to say them. Today is not too late to start building a legacy for your children, your grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren. Use today well to build a legacy that they would follow in the ways of the Lord. Hope you have a great Wednesday. If you want to join us tonight in Bible study at church, we're going to be there at 6:30. If you're looking for some in-person fellowship, we're going to be in Hebrews chapter 6, verses 1 through 8. So if you want to join us, we'll be there at 6:30 for Bible study and then take some prayer requests. And if you're not able to join us, I'll see you back here tomorrow morning as we will finish the life of Joseph in Genesis chapter 50. Have a great day. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. I'll see you soon.